The Premier League is back. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Our first game is against Arsenal, a massive, massive game for so many reasons. But what a game to have to open up our Premier League campaign. Now, certainly, I am excited for what the season can bring. I'm excited to see how we develop as a team, how we grow, how our new signings fit in, what can be done, and how we can be much better, and we have to be much better than what we were last season, ending 15th, no trophies, and certainly looking like a club that was down and out. But after the transfer window that we've had so far, there's a bit of optimism, there is hope, and that certainly must excite you for what is to come and for what we are going to see or what we are expecting to see. Now, Arsenal themselves have made quite a few signings and they do want to bridge the gap in finally winning a Premier League title. Not saying that it would be their first but it would be a very good achievement for them in a long time. Ending second, 3 seasons in a row, and shall I say, not really fighting, in the last stages of the Premier League campaign in order to win the title, but certainly doing well enough to be part of the conversation and to be part of the title challenge, to compete to win a Premier League title. They've got, of course, Victor Gyökeres. They signed Madueke from Chelsea. They signed Zubimendi and a young centre-back in Mosquera. Now, Mosquera himself certainly will be one of the young centre-backs rotating with a Saliba or a Gabriel, etc. But it is, of course, Victor Gyökeres, the signing that they have made, that he is supposedly going to be that final piece of the puzzle, that will push them over the edge, getting them to score more goals and win more games and ultimately win the Premier League, because that is their goal. Because I feel that if Mikel Arteta doesn't win anything this season or doesn't have a good enough season, I do think that he will be sacked. That's just my opinion. I mean, I'm an outsider. I don't follow Arsenal to as much detail as I do with Manchester United. Now, of course, we know how Arteta likes to play football. We know how good they are and how dangerous they are in terms of set pieces. And of course, they will also have developed a bit more. But with them playing together for the past 3 to 4 years, they certainly have become a formidable team. Very, very good in terms of outpassing you. They are very good in terms of rotating their front line. They are very, very good also in counter attacks. Defensively, they are also good as well. When you try to play, and press them from the front, they are able to play out from the back comfortably by bypassing your press. They are also very good at winning balls in the air with the aerial strength of, Gabriel and Saliba at the back. David Raya has turned out to be a very good goalkeeper for them, with the saves that he can make and how good he is with the ball at his feet. So this is a very good Arsenal team, if not a great Arsenal team. Depends on how they look at it. But Mikel Arteta will know exactly what to expect from his team. They will come to Old Trafford, be it the first day of the season. They certainly have more pressure on them than what there is on us and Ruben Amorim. And that is simply because they have to be going for the title and most likely winning it in order to have a successful season after what they've done previously. With Ruben Amorim and United, we certainly just have to try and aim for the Champions League places. That is the priority target. And of course, if we have a good enough season, if we find ourselves in and amongst the conversation of challenging for the Premier League title, who knows what can happen? Maybe we develop like quickly. It can be done. You saw the likes of Nottingham Forest go from being relegation candidates to being in the Champions League, with how good of a season they can have with the signings that they made for last season. Now, of course, I do expect Arsenal to have more confidence. I do expect them to play with a bit more flair because of them knowing each other, knowing where their players are going to be, knowing how to link up, knowing exactly what to do and when to do it. We know this. So we must, and I think this time around, Ruben Amorim is a bit more smarter when it comes to Arsenal. When we did play them last season, or played them, it wasn't bad performances. We did well against them in the FA Cup. Of course, we went through on penalties, but again, we done well, especially with 10 men. When we played them at Old Trafford, again, we were the better team, and we know Declan Rice scored the equaliser, but we probably should have won that game based on what was happening in that game in terms of chances created. But for this particular game, you look at it with new eyes, fresh ideas, a fresh mind with a fresh perspective. And that is simply because Amorim certainly has options now. And this is kind of where it gets tricky for Ruben Amorim. And yes, he might have a settled defense because we have very good defensive players. It is still the midfield that is an issue. And yes, Carlos Baleba is the priority target, and the club is in talks with Brighton in order to try and come up with a deal that can be done or can be struck with Brighton. But for the time being, we're still going to be having this deficiency in midfield, which Amorim certainly will look to work around, and I think that he can. He has the players at his disposal to do that until we can get in a new midfielder. Now, of course, Ruben Amorim certainly needs to find the right combinations. Of course, you could put it out there that Sesko, Mbumo, and Cunha are the front three, and they are going to start when they are fit. There's no argument about that. But for right now, for this particular game, I do think Amorim certainly will have choices to make. Does he go with a more offensive team or a more defensive team? Does he play it safe, or does he go out there and say, you know what, let's put it on to them. We're playing at home. It's the first game of the season. The crowd will be behind us. The atmosphere will be good. Let's use all of that and actually go at Arsenal. Make it a difficult game for them. Now, certainly that can be done. You saw how Ruben Amorim has progressed the team in terms of us pressing from the front quite well, in terms of us being able to play quick one-touch passes, trying to break lines and also create opportunities at a certain tempo. This has been done, especially against Bournemouth, especially against West Ham. Not so much against Everton, but we did have good moments against Everton with one-touch passing. So for me in this particular game, I do think that Ruben Amorim is going to be very mindful of the fact of Arsenal and how physically dominant they can be, especially at set pieces. So for that reason, let's start with the starting 11 that I think Ruben Amorim will be going with. Now, of course, there is a debate of whether Onana will be fit to start this particular game. He is, of course, still the number one. And we saw Bayern Dur being given opportunities in preseason, mainly due to the fact that Onana was injured. But there was a report from Rob Dawson that said that Onana is basically going to be starting. He is ready to start. It will just come down to Ruben Amorim certainly putting in a thought. Does he start Onana after having not played any preseason games? Or does he go with Bayern, who's had a bit of games under his belt? It is a decision to be made. But based on how you can look at it, you probably would likely start Onana. I mean, it's not like he's been doing nothing. I'm sure he certainly has been performing at a certain level in training, of course. So I think Onana will be in goal. The back three, I think, would be De Ligt, Maguire, and Euro, simply because of how good Arsenal can be in set pieces and how good they are in terms of their aerial dominances, especially from corners. De Ligt, Maguire, and Euro gives you that height, and they also give you that aerial ability in order for us to be good defensively in corners, and of course to ensure that we can counter them if they want to play long ball to a Victor Gyökeres, or perhaps to try and go with Havertz, who's also quite good in the air if they do play him up front. That's just my take. I think that will be the back three. Right hand side, in the right wing back position, I think Ahmad will start there to provide a bit of a angle and a dynamic to link up with a Bryan Mbeumo, who I think will start this game, probably come off in the second half, but I think Amorim will want to start this game quite strong, and I think that he will be fit enough to start. Same can be said for Matheus Cunha, and he has said in his press conference that Benjamin Sesko is fit, he's physically fit, and he does ask the right questions. So I do think he will be starting this game as well, especially after it was reported that he did have a behind closed doors game that involved some of the under 21s. So I'm sure he will be excited and chomping at the bit to get a start in this game and try and put in a performance that is a good performance, in my opinion. He probably will want to score, obviously. He is that type of striker. Goals is what he lives for. Now in midfield, as I said, that is the deficiency. Of course, Patrick Dorgo at left wing back, the most impressive player in pre-season, in my opinion, should definitely start this game at left wing back. That midfield for me, I think, needs to be Bruno and Ugarte. Now, yes, Casemiro might be much better defensively. He might have a bit of an old head in terms of experience. But in terms of getting the legs to get the ground that is needed in order to close down the Arsenal players, in order to press as quick and as high as we can, Casemiro doesn't allow us to do that. And Amorim did say that he wants Bruno Fernandes closer to the ball. So I do think he'll be starting in midfield. And of course, Ugarte is our most mobile defensive midfielder for the time being. So I think he will be starting next to Bruno Fernandes in that midfield too, tasked with, of course, breaking down, closing down, intercepting passes, and just doing whatever he does and what he does well defensively. Whereas Bruno, of course, will be tasked with trying to create play from midfield, trying to be the link between defense and attack in order to allow us to play through the lines. He needs to be able to link up with a Ahmad, with a Dogu, Mbumo, Cunha, etc. And of course, having Benjamin Sesko as a target man with his frame, with his size, with his ability in the air is another reason why Benjamin Sesko would start, because he can help us defensively for set pieces, but also, of course, be a threat when we have our own set pieces and when we are on the attack trying to put balls in the box. So it's going to be a tough game, that's for sure. And I do believe that we can win them, but that will not be most likely the all-out focus. Winning, of course, is great. We need to win games. We can't have what happened last season in the Premier League happen again this season. We need to finish in the top half of the table and, as best as possible, finish as high as possible, in my opinion. If we can finish second on the log, so be it. Let's go and do that. If we can finish first, then by all means, let's do that. And if we do end up signing Carlos Baleba, I just might start thinking of us actually putting in a challenge for the Premier League title. I might start saying some crazy things on the channel right here if we do end up signing Carlos Baleba. But it's going to be a good game. It's our opening game of the Premier League campaign, and it certainly is something to look forward to. I'm excited for it. Of course, I'm nervous. Of course, I know Arsenal are a good enough team to win us. But, as I said, we're playing at Old Trafford. The new signings are there. The positivity is high. It looks like the club is moving in the right direction. We are prioritizing a midfielder in Carlos Baleba, which the entire Man United fan base is certainly excited about if we can get that deal done. There's so many positives that the team, that Ruben Amorim can pull from in order to get the energy and the drive and the determination to get a good result, get a win against this Arsenal team and make a statement. Because if we win Arsenal, certainly more pressure will be put on Arsenal, of course, but there's going to be a turn of expectation in terms of how the outside world, the media, our rivals, look at us as a club, look at the team that we have, and look at Ruben Amorim. And there might be a bit of fear being put in for the rest of the Premier League if we have a good result with a good performance. But that is all for when we do face Arsenal. Of course, let me know in the comment section what you think about this exciting game. Let me know who you want to start in this particular game. Also, let me know in the comment section how you feel about the signings we've made and our priority target being Carlos Baleba. Have a wonderful weekend. Till we see each other again soon. Thanks for watching. If you want more content on Manchester United, like, share and subscribe.